Hey guys, Jared back. So we've got the Moga Pro Power in front of us here. What makes the Moga Pro Power special, you might ask? Well, it's the fact that this actually has a 2200 milliamp hour battery built into the device itself. You can see on the back here, I don't know if you would actually call this the back or the front and if the lighting is just right, but it says Moga Boost. So this one on the right here is actually meant for charging the actual controller itself. And the one on the right is for plugging in the cable that actually comes in the box with it. So as you can see, one end is a standard USB and the other end is a micro USB. So what you would then do is obviously flip up the little arm to hold your device in, put your device in there, and then you would plug this into the USB port and the other part into your device there, and it'll actually charge your phone. Now, something I do want to touch base on though is the fact that the charging really depends on the game that you're playing. Now, I believe that it's a 0.5 amp output or 500 milliamp hour output. Now, that's not huge. That's actually considerably less than most standard wall chargers to this day. So, you know, games, some games might actually, you'll find that it actually does charge it a few percent at a time, preventing it from depleting the battery and actually charging it. Some games you'll notice that it actually prevents it from depleting, but it doesn't charge it at all, but it doesn't, you know, drain the battery at all. And then other games, again, depending on how demanding those games are, you'll actually notice that it will deplete the battery of your phone even while your controller is charging your device. It's considerably slower depletion than you're used to. So say, for instance, you start up, I don't know, just as a hypothetical example, a Dead Trigger 2 at 50% battery on your phone. And after half an hour of gaming without something charging your device, you'll probably find that after about half an hour of gaming, the phone's either dead, not specifically a Note 3, but most phones anyways, generally speaking, your phone's either dead or it's about to die. Okay, with this in, you'll go from 50% to, say, for instance, 45% at the most in terms of depletion. Now, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that, you know, Dead Trigger 2 is that much of a killer, but anyways, so that's pretty awesome. So we can charge our phone and play and play and play for hours and hours and hours, and that's awesome. And a 2200 milliamp hour battery is very big. Now, I do have a bit of an issue with a couple of features on this device. First and foremost, and these are very, very small issues that you really, it shouldn't sway you away from buying this because they're really minute. First one being the A button. The A button, in my opinion, is a little bit close to the right analog thumbstick. You'll notice that this particular controller is actually, I would be surprised if Moga said, no, we didn't model this after the Xbox 360 controller, because it definitely was. And the Xbox 360 controller, the A button is actually moved quite a bit away from the analog stick there. And so you'll notice that when you go to hit that A button from time to time, you can see that my thumb might end up bumping that stick every now and then, which, depending on the game you're playing and depending on the button configuration, might actually screw up your gameplay. But that's something really minor, and you can learn to avoid that eventually, like I'm doing now, right? The other one is the fact that when the arm on this is actually fully extended, it's a little bit wiggly. So with too much screwing around, that might, I'm afraid that might break. But on the other side of the coin, when you have a device in here and locked into place, that's not going to move at all. And you're never going to use any devices that are that big except for the Galaxy Mega at the moment. And the Galaxy Note 3 is probably coming down to about there. And as you can see, you know, the shorter it gets, the less wiggly it gets. And again, you know, when you have your device in there, it's going to be locked into place. This isn't going to be moving around. The last issue I have with this is actually the lack of the rubber grips that were featured on the previous Moga Pro model. Nice, a little bit longer, so I'm not complaining about the length of the sort of hand grips here, the palm grips, if you will, but I do wish that they continued to include the rubber grips, because to me, that was a really big feature, you know, especially when you've been playing for long gaming sessions, and you guys know what I'm talking about who play games a lot, like console games. After a good 5 hours of playing, you do start to get sweaty palm syndrome. It's gonna happen, don't lie, you know it happens to you, and that starts to become a little bit uncomfortable when you're playing. It actually gets really uncomfortable when you're playing the game. So a rubber controller would probably alleviate some of that uncomfortability, I suppose you could say. So let's go ahead and move on to the device now, and I'm going to show you guys the Moga Pivot application. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and check out the Moga Pivot app, and this is something you're going to want to download as soon as you get the your controller. So it gives you this little walkthrough on to pair up both the A mode and the B mode, because both of them will show up on your device as two separate devices. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this now because I know that I've already paired both of them up. The application itself is a little bit sort of all over the place. You do have to do a bunch of tapping around and screwing around and things like that to navigate to where you want to. But what I really like is you'll notice that we've got two different categories. We've got the controller controller, so you can see all the games actually that I have played so far with the controller. You'll notice we've got green arrows and we've got an orange arrow. The orange arrow is for the games that have an HID that aren't natively compatible with the game controller, and the green arrows are games that are natively compatible with a game controller. So that's cool, and you can obviously just come into here and then just launch the games there as a list. If we click on the little shopping bag there, this actually takes us to a list and categories of all the different games that are compatible natively and not natively with the Moga controller. So if we click on the HID games that aren't natively compatible with it, you can see we've got quite the list of games. Not a huge amount, and obviously, I mean, this can be updated, and just, you know, it takes a lot of experimentation. I've already played a game today, which I'll be showing you in a moment here, that isn't natively compatible with this and isn't in this list. So obviously, don't leave it up to Moga to update this games list. It's all about experimentation, okay? So let's go ahead and give you guys some examples of games that aren't natively compatible with it and how they play, and games that are natively compatible with the controller and how they play. Alrighty, so one thing I do want to point out is that once you have both the Moga Pro 2, or I should say A mode and B mode, A mode will be Moga Pro 2 and B mode would be Moga Pro 2 HID. From time to time, you might actually have to find yourself going into your Bluetooth menu, and you'll have to select which one you want. And when you are swapping between modes, you do have to turn off the controller and leave it off for at least 5 seconds in order for for you to be able to switch to the next mode. Don't mind those. I'm running a custom ROM here, and I've been experiencing some different issues. So hopefully this demonstration works. So let's go ahead and jump into, oh, I don't know, Dead Trigger 2, because that is natively, actually, you know what? Yeah. We'll use Dead Trigger 2 because that is natively compatible with the Moga controller. So getting it in isn't exactly always the easiest, but it's easy enough. So there you go. Installation, you know, pretty quick enough, I should say anyway. So we'll go ahead and click play here. Wait for that authentication to complete. And you'll also notice that since we're in A mode, it actually lights up green, and in on the side here, it gives you the indication when it's a solid blue light, you are now in fact connected. So as we can see, you'll notice that we use the left thumbstick here, and you can navigate around to the different items on the screen here. And because it's natively compatible, you know, not all the buttons are going to work. Although I guess it would be kind of neat to have that. But you can in fact remap all these buttons here because the game, again, natively supports this game controller. So we'll go ahead and just jump into Africa here, and I think we have a nice story to start out with here to give you guys an idea. So A button, as you can see, I'm using, you know, like the A button is basically just like the Xbox 360 controller, you know, to click next or accept the item or whatever it might be. Now I have auto fire turned on for whatever reason, but as you can see, we'll use the left trigger button. We can aim down the sights. I can look around, I can move around, and of course you can adjust the sensitivity of, you know, your looks and your moving and everything like that, so that's fantastic. Obviously for some of you guys out there that are like pretty hardcore gamers, you guys will appreciate that as much as I do. So you can tell that Moga, I mean, gamers are their bread and butter, so if they don't, you know, include some of these features, I'm sure they'll be hearing from it from a lot of different gamers out there. So as you can see, it all works perfectly, and if I wanted to, let's go ahead and back out and just go ahead and jump into options here, and as you can see, we've got an option for gamepad. Bring it a little bit closer, and then we'll go ahead and click on that, and you notice we've got all these different options here that we can completely remap the controls for the controller, which is absolutely fantastic. So now let's go ahead and back out of here, and let's pick a game that I'm gonna have to use the HID mode or the B mode to use, okay? So give me a moment here. All right, so we're loading up the respawnables. Now this isn't obviously like you may have noticed, and when I was showing you the Moga Pivot app, that this isn't in the list of the HID games, though this would fall under that category. So this game is not even by any means compatible with an external controller. And as you can see, we're in options here. We can go ahead and click on control. We've got virtual pad, floating, classic, and that's it. That's all we get, right? So let's go ahead and back out, and we'll go in there, but you'll notice that we are in fact on B mode right now, and as you can see, the light has turned amber. So we'll go ahead and click play, and we'll just pick this as an example. So like I mentioned before, you know, with games that aren't natively compatible with the controller, you do have to kind of figure out which buttons are mapped to which buttons on the controller. So me, I happen to know that, like, you know, the triggers the trigger buttons, the right trigger and left trigger, don't actually work. So you have to figure out what it is. And I figured out that the right shoulder button is actually what is the fire button. But I can still use the right and left analog sticks to move around and look and all that good stuff. Take care of what I need to. The sound is off right now, and I don't believe that's any fault of the actual controller itself. I think it's just because I'm running a custom ROM right now and it's got several bugs with it. But as you can see, we can run around, everything works, and this controller is, and I didn't have to set up, you know, oh, this is a game controller or anything like that. I just launched the game, switched to HID or B mode, if you will, and it's now working. And so, I mean, you know, this gives you obviously a huge leg up in your first-person shooter games, a huge leg up in, you know, racing games, which obviously first-person shooters and racing games are the most popular games for mobile devices these days. And it just works. Now, if we wanted to, let's go ahead and if I press, nope, start button doesn't pause. So we'll go ahead and pause this right now. And I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to go back to the home menu and I want to get into the battery so I can show you guys. Go into the battery here. All right, so take a look at that. It doesn't look like it's charging at all right now. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the charger. If I can figure out where the heck it is. There we go. And boom, there you go. As you can see, AC. So this actually thinks it's being charged by an AC wall outlet, which means you're actually gonna, it's gonna allow quicker charging, though I believe it only actually puts out at 0.5 amps or 500 milliamps. So anyways, there's a bit of an idea for you guys about how it works, you know, if it's something that you're interested in purchasing yourself. As you can see, I'm already getting a bit of sweaty palm action there. But it is, in fact, charging my device. As you can see, this is how the setup looks from the back. You know, it's great. And obviously, if you have a Galaxy Note 3 and you like your gaming, this is a wicked controller for it. If you have an HTC One with the dual front-facing speakers, even better. Anyways, guys, I hope you like this review. I hope you like the device. I'll be posting links in the description below so you can go and purchase it yourself. $80 in the Amazon, or on Amazon, I should say. Tons of games compatible with it. There is something called the, by a third-party developer, a Moga Universal Drivers. Now, unfortunately, it's not compatible with the Moga Pro series at the moment, Moga Pro Power series at the moment, I should say. But this was just recently released, and I'm sure the developer is working on updates for it. But basically, that'll allow you to map anything you want, any game with any key you have on your Moga, basically making this compatible with any game on the Play Store, period. So wait for that to come out. If you do have one of these or you're waiting for one of these to come out or show up at your house, I'm sorry. Great device, great build quality, 2200 milliamp hour battery. It's compatible with multiple players. It's a fantastic device. That's it though, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like the review, click that likes button down below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more videos like this one in the future. And that's it. We'll see you next time, guys. Cheers.